It's that time of year again. It's an all Joe episode of It Came From My Side of the Laundry Room. So, stick around. Hey everybody, welcome to It Came From My Side of the Laundry Room. And that's right, it's an all G.I. Joe special episode. It's that time of year again, where I get to have the honor of being in Cobra Convergence, now in its 4th year, and it just so happens to be my birthday, which was a couple days ago. So, to commemorate both awesome occasions, I like to focus a whole episode on G.I. Joe. This time we're going to have 3 different segments, so what better way to kick things off than with Fistful of Joes?
Yo, Joe!
Just like any Fistful of Joes episode, we start with a box and me grabbing a handful of Joes, so let's see who we get. Just on quick glance, these look to be a bunch of 25th anniversary figures. Let's see how many we have here. Oh, silly box. There you go. Oh, looks like we got a bunch. Okay. So, let's kick things off with Duke. I believe this Duke came in a comic 2-pack. Because it is Duke. Oh. As you can tell, I'm a little out of practice from doing Fistful of Joes. There went a stand. Anyway, this Duke is in his green military fatigues. Has his binoculars that his later uniformed version would have, and he comes with an M16. Has a hard time fitting into this hand because when they did the packaging with the rubber bands to hold the weapons in their hands for displaying in the package, it seemed like they put it in with the paint wet or whatever, because he has lines all over his hands, which you probably can't see here, of where the rubber bands sat. And they kind of disfigured his hands that it's hard for him to grip stuff. And they just have a lot of lines over them. He also comes with a 45 and a knife, which go into this knife holster here on his side. And the 45 surprisingly doesn't have a holster. He has his helmet, and like I said, his binoculars, and also a bandolier that goes around with a grenade. 25th anniversary, as I've pointed out in the past, I used to not count as vintage Joe, not classic Joe, but I guess so many years have passed that I need to kind of start recognizing them as classics. I mean, we haven't really had any great G.I. Joe figures on store shelves since these. Of course, we had, I think the Joe 50th maybe anniversary 2-packs or something like that. Don't quote me on that. And of course, the convention specials. But those aren't things you can readily find. Here is one of my favorites because of his original figure that came with so many neat little gadgets. But here is, I'm not going to get them totally decked out here, but here is Tripwire. 25th anniversary. Oh, I got his detector on here wrong. And I'm not going to hook his wire up at the moment. But here he is, great mold. He still comes with the 3 mines like the original figure does in the backpack. And he came with a piece of the sand from the mass device, which is a neat little addition. I'm sorry, I'm just kind of speeding through these, but I really don't have much backstory on these figures like I do with the vintage ones, because I was buying these in bulk. I would go to Walmart and Target and wherever else that would have them. Kmart at the time when they were still around. And I would buy everything that I saw. Every figure that was new, I would check back almost daily. So I was a hardcore collector by then of these and just going crazy. And for the longest time I wanted to keep them in their packaging mint, but I told the story before, but when my wife and I moved into our home, we didn't have room for just stuff laying around, so I was given the decision of all these can stay mint and card and sell them or open them up to make some space. So I wasn't concerned with making $1 back on them, but I was concerned with having this collection, so I opened them all up. So here was Tripwire. Next is Storm Shadow version 2, which great figure in both vintage and 25th anniversary. Oh, here it is. Here's his sword. Get that in his sheath here. And the dagger at his waist. This is one that the originals backpack with the swords and his bow and arrow, I mean, they really went all out. He has the Aragakashi clan symbol on his backpack and of course on his upper forearm here. When I got my tattoo, I got it on the inside of my arm just for something different, plus the snake eyes in the 12-inch line had it here. But anyway, great figure, great mold. I mean, they really did the classic original one proud by this. I mean, the rope around his body here is actually what holds the backpack on. His bow is a lot bigger than it was in the original. And his belt has new standout like shuriken, and like I said, the dagger that goes in there. Just great. Awesome figure. Again, I have a hard time saying any G.I. Joe figure isn't awesome. I mean, to me, they're all great. They all have personality. But then I get to this one. This one, not my favorite. This is Battle Damage Snake Eyes that I think actually came with that Storm Shadow in a 2-pack. And I mean, it's cool, but we've seen this character many times before. Just this time they ripped up one of his sleeves, which is very comic accurate, and that's awesome. And he has a Cobra satchel, which is nice, but just would not be one of mine that I would go out to buy. This is one of those I always, look at that a little bit more, sorry about that. Got his Arakakashi tattoo. Lower on his forearm than that Storm Shadow, which is odd, because they're in the same spot. But I saw him at the store many times in the 2-pack and kind of just walked away like, I have plenty of Snake Eyes, I don't need this one as well. But you get to a point where you're hunting the stores day in and day out, and you're finally like, well, I'm just not leaving empty-handed. And I grabbed it just to get a full set at the time. Now this one, again, a great figure. Get his important gear here. But that is Barbecue. They did a great job with him. I mean, it looks like this gear, I mean, it has substance. Huge oxygen tank there. The helmet huge coming over his jumpsuit. He has pouches here and there. A walkie-talkie. But a great figure, again, that they made better. Of course, he comes with his axe, his fire retardant spray backpack, hose, and a sprayer that hooks up to the hose and to the backpack. I have the hose, it's here in the bag. But something I've never been used to are the new peg holes that they went with for backpacks. They're a lot smaller, but the only thing they're good for is they actually place it on the backpack where exactly they want it to lay on the figure. Some of the older figures, I have to be honest, I didn't know if I had the backpack upside down or right side up, because some of them were just nondescript backpacks or bags, and you just stuck it on there. It wasn't until later, like looking through some of the collector's books and catalogs and stuff, that you saw, oh, okay, I always had that on upside down. So that is one nice thing that they did with that. Now here we have Lady J, and this is very comic and original toy specific. They did come out with one that was very cartoon centric with her hair, and unfortunately I never did pick that one up because it came in like a 5-pack, I believe, and I just didn't have the money at the time, and it was all figures that I'd already had, so it just didn't make a lot of sense to me at the time. She comes with a backpack that actually has straps that go over. She has her javelin launcher, a pistol on her side that goes into a removable belt. But really great. I mean, again, with the molding this time around, her hair actually has some detail to it that the original, of course, didn't. Her body's a little bit more shapely and more in tune with the female form, with a thinner waist and not as bulky of shoulders and so on and so forth. So that was really good as well. Sorry I'm speeding through this. I just don't want this to end up being like a 2-hour episode because of the other stuff I want to get into. And the one that I dropped. And the one that I dropped here is Roadblock version 2. Great figure. Blew my mind when it came out because such a departure from the original's color scheme of camouflage. I guess this was one of the first of the new era of Joe figures, of brighter colors and such. Some of these I worry about bending their arms because they just don't feel the toughest. But he comes with his huge machine gun. I think it's an M60 design. And it comes with a tripod. But here we go. Sorry, didn't mean to keep him off camera for so long. But his vest is actually removable to some extent. Maybe not. Nope, it's not removable. But how it's molded on there, it actually makes it look like a heavy flak jacket vest. He has the peg hole going all the way through it. He has a removable. I always think they're removable and they're probably not. But he has a belt with pouches on it. The only thing this figure's missing that a lot of the other ones do have is the extra touches, like the knife that's on his vest. They could have gave him a knife that could fit in the sheath there. But a great roadblock, great classic character, no matter how you cut it. I apologize for any background noise. He also came with a bullet belt, and that kind of feeds into the M60. Kind of. Well, anyway, that was a quick look at 7 G.I. Joes in the 25th anniversary line. Now we're going to take a quick look at a card series. Now, I believe it was Imperial Cards, maybe, that did the great classic trading card line. But these were other ones that came out. These originally came out in 1994. And these were put out by Comic Images, that were known at the time to do a lot of like the up and coming comics like Savage Dragon, Shadow, a lot of the Image comics, Youngblood, such like that. And they also got to X-Men and you know, a little bit more mainstream titles. But they did a G.I. Joe 30th anniversary. And in 1994, it was the 30th anniversary of the original, you know, Fighting Man G.I. Joe, 12-inch figure. And as we see with the first card in the set, this dude right here, the original Joe. And on the back, they would say just a little blurb. In 1964, each original G.I. Joe came wearing basic military fatigues with hat, dog tags, and jump boots. Also included were a field training manual, unit patches, and insignia chevrons. These 12-inch dolls carried a suggested retail price of $4. So we have different ones from that set. We got the deep sea diver dude. Yeah, there's a lot of them, so I'll just skip through here. Got the astronaut Joe. A bearded Joe. And again, on the back with the blurbs, they start putting little mini tiny dossiers on the Joe and Cobra characters from the 3 3/4 line. So we go through this 12-inch Joes here. Here's the one that has movable eyes that were a lot like dolls. Here's the Space Joes with aliens. And this is the first sketch of the new era of G.I. Joe from 1978. And it says, during the years following G.I. Joe's 1978 furlough, Hasbro began work on the relaunch of this toy legend. Ron Rundin, resident designer, began drawing this modern version of G.I. Joe, which was complete in 1981. So from there we have a classic picture of some famous Joes on their file cards. Box art of like Sky Striker, the Whale, the aircraft carrier, Terror Drone, okay, Defiant, some more figures. Okay, now we have the relaunch of the 12-inch figures. See, this is a nice little timeline of the toys. And these have just been packed away for so long under a tight compression, they're kind of stuck together. Then we get into the comics. Here's cover art for issue 1. This is from G.I. Joe 62. I just had to double check what the issue number was. And they have some other famous covers up to some of the more later issues. They gave little rundowns on what the issues are about. They have this awesome pin-up picture from one of the issues that has the Dreadnoks and the October Guard. But one of the neat little features of these cards is they show G.I. Joe from around the world. So we have like cards like this, or this Japanese card. Oh, look at this cool 2-pack. What country is this from? This is from Mexico, and it's Storm Shadow with one of those wind-up backpacks. And if you can see it there, sorry it's kind of glared, but they actually drew Storm Shadow using it there on the top of the card. Actually, he's using a couple of them. And they don't call him Storm Shadow, it's just Cobra Ninja, because they have a couple versions of him using the wind-up toys. Got an Action Force. One of the things I wish I could get, they have the Fun School Street Hawk from the great 80s show. Here's the Glenda card. This is Cobra Immortal. Cobra de Aco, or Iron Cobra, from Brazil. This is some neat packaging, that if they would have came like that. But it goes on and on and on, showing them from different countries. Then we get into the movie. Some of the artwork that they did for the cartoon. Some screenshots from the cartoon. Some of the, here's a Sergeant Savage 12-inch. Here's a prototype for air defense vehicle. That would have been nice. Oh, here's the train set. Oh, is this another prototype? Space shuttle. Very cool. Got some characters that were made but never, or designed but never made. It's an unnamed African American female figure. A Space Force figure. Dude smoking. Only in the 80s. What's this? Here's a Sergeant Savage vehicle, the Grizzly. Here's a stealth bomber that was never produced. Man, they're really doubling down on the Sergeant Savage. I guess at the time it was the latest thing to come out. They're going to make a firefighting regiment of G.I. Joe. See, that would have been kind of neat. That's a unproduced vehicle. Here's a really sci-fi looking spaceship that they were creating. That's really cool. It's a Cobra vehicle. It looks like something out of Firefly. Very neat. We got some 12-inch Hall of Fame. There's a Duke. Here we have some Joe Kubert art from the Sergeant Savage line. Got a bunch of cards of that. This dude was always cool looking for a villain. But that's about it. And then we got the checklist after that. So this is just a little card set that I don't see it doesn't get a lot of attention. A lot of attention is given to the card set that I guess came out before this. I have a full set of that too. And the way I'll have to tell the story on how I got those when I do those for another episode of Fistful of Joes, or just for a rainy day. But anyway, that was a look at the 1994 30th anniversary of G.I. Joe card collection. Now, let's watch a commercial.
Ninja Force! The Joes lose again, Scarlet!
You're the one that just rolled Snake Eyes.
It's the G.I. Joe Ninja Force with real ninja moves. Here's Snake Eyes on the Ninja Lightning with thunder missiles and zip strip speed. And now Joe and Cobra Ninja Raiders Ginsu and Red Ninja spring into action in their own fast attack vehicles with a Ninja Surprise. G.I. Joe Ninja Lightning and Ninja figures sold separately. Ninja Raiders come with exclusive figures available in May. We need that gold to build our ultimate weapon.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed that commercial. Now, well, let's take a look at these. These are a line that G.I. Joe came out much later, and there was a part of me that saw these on the store shelves and wanted them, but the purist in me made me hold back for the longest time. Unfortunately, when I did start buying them off the shelves, the line was coming to a close, and what I got was pretty much all they had left. There are some great figures in this line that I hope to get one day, but for now, I think I have some really cool ones. So let's take a look. These are the G.I. Joe Sigma 6 figures. They are kind of like the black sheep of the G.I. Joe toy line, but these figures are really awesome. they're big and clunky, which is great. Here's Zartan, and I mean, look, that is a great Zartan. They had some really neat features to them, like having these posts on their bodies that allowed you to add different backpacks and weapons to them. Sorry, Zartan's helped me reach the mouse. And like these pouches that are just hanging off here. Very cool. And Zartan's hood actually, if you can see, has like a burlap texture to it, which is really neat. Now his weapons are in here somewhere. I have everything in a bag here, which I should remedy one day. But take a look at him again. And let me see if I can find his gear in here. And while I'm looking at it, I'll pull out some other stuff. I forget who that came with. Yeah, some of this gear I don't know who it came with, or if it's even really important to show. Yeah, let's just focus on the actual figures themselves. Here is Storm Shadow. Again, a great figure. Cloth pants, cloth belt. He came with size, and his katana is in here somewhere. He came with climbing claws, feet and hands, I remember. And they just go on like this. So he could scale any surface and take out his foes. Weird thing, the Arakakaje tattoo up on his bicep. Yeah, really weird placement. I never dug that. Well, I'm grabbing stuff out of here as gear. I have Destro, and you know Destro always had the great backpack full of weaponry. Here they have a briefcase that you pull it up and he's got an Uzi down in it. And you could open it up and you can see it's a laptop where he has money. There's the screen with the keyboard. Oh, had it in here backwards because it actually fits in here, like it slides out, not just pops out. Yeah, there we go. So you can do that. You can actually hold on to it here, like, doesn't even have to drop his briefcase. Here, Zartan came with a quiver, because in the comic he was a expert archer. We have a Cobra Commander, and he actually harkens back to, actually he comes with a helmet, but underneath the helmet is the hooded version. Of course it looks a little bit different, but I mean Cobra Commander's had a lot of different outfit changes over the years, so it fits the character. He has wrist gauntlet guns, a cool cape with the Cobra symbol on the back. Whoops. And harkens back to He-Man here. Battle damage chest plate. Oh, so you could have Snake Eyes work him over, punching him in his armored chest, busting it up. And he came with this staff that turned into like a scythe. Kind of cool. And like I said, I mean, Cobra Commander's been through a lot of outfit changes classically, so no harm, no foul that they changed his outfit yet again. Sorry, found Storm Shadow's katana, put it in there. And here is Destro. And this is a nice version of Destro as well. Got the chrome face mask. He does have a steel chest, which is different, but oh well. If that's the only thing wrong with it, that's very small. Cloth coat with the flaring collar. Like I said, he came with that cool briefcase. What other one? Cobra Commander came with this shield with a giant saw blade on it. I mean, some of the gear was silly, but the figures were great. Here is a bat. And I think this is a great robot toy by itself, on top of being a bat. Now, he came with a jetpack with wings that could be attached that are all in here somewhere. Huge rifles and guns. Oh, missiles that went on the jetpack. Let's see here. I found the jetpack. Let me put it together super quick. Just so you get the full experience of what he looked like here. Oh, and one missile that didn't fall off. And I put the wings on backwards. Excuse me. Here we go. But a bat trooper that could be ground and air. Okay. Excuse me. Pick up this gun. They were made very modular. Almost sometimes to their detriment, like that, like dropping the gun. But they had blasters that came off the front. And I can't say I ever really watched the show. I remember it was on. And I kind of dug the anime approach to it. But, I mean, these were great character designs. So those are the Cobra figures that I have. And there were more that I wish I would have gotten. Like the Firefly. I never got Firefly. And on the show, I remember it was great because he was a Joe when he was first introduced, and so on and so forth. He actually works for Cobra, which really fit the Saboteur background of the character. So here we go with the G.I. Joe figures. Oh, and this was the bow that Zartan came with. It just didn't fit in the bag. I mean, that's awesome. A big compound bow. Fits the character to a T. So here we go with Snake Eyes. As you can see, he doesn't have his face mask right now, but you can see his eyes, and they're very scarred up. The flesh that you can see around it. And I might have to do some digging before we get to his visor. But here he has a little ninja toe and his Uzi. And there was a later release, I think it's like Arctic Snake Eyes, that actually came with a big timber. I never got him, but wanted him. Here is, let me fix this up a little bit. Awesome gun for this character before we get started, but this is Tunnel Rat. Always got to get a Tunnel Rat. Great classic figure. He has great combat webbing that actually has elastic fabric in between the plastic pieces. He has goggles that you can take on and off. came with this little sled device that allowed him to move through tunnels, which is kind of neat. Oh, I take it back. That bow came with Spirit. My bad. And Zartan came with a crossbow, but I always gave him that bow because it seemed more fitting. But here is Spirit. Great cloth pants, huge knife, cloth headband. Came with a quiver of great gadget arrows and that big bow that I showed you. He has tattoos. I mean, this is a cool Spirit figure. Kind of has the same blue motif of his shirt now in his cloth pants. And he came with Freedom. Which instead of a bald eagle, it just looks more like a falcon. So, let's look through here. Oh, Snake Eyes also came with a longer sword. 2 of them, actually. And Spirit came with this awesome axe that could become 2 axes. Like I said, modular to a fault. And I'm looking for Snake Eyes' visor. Excuse me. No, it's not. Here it is. Here we go. So the weird thing about Snake Eyes is he came with these goggles, this gas mask, and his classic visor. Which, that's the only way to roll, in my opinion. So there he is. Great Snake Eyes figure, very posable. Can do some great stuff. The extra sword that I had for him I gave to my 12-inch Snake Eyes because I didn't have the sword for him, and it kind of fits. The Tunnel Rat, I believe, came with a butterfly knife that actually works. I mean, that's pretty awesome. But anyway, like I said, this was a line that by the time I realized how great it was, I gave up that ghost of, well, they're not my classic Joes. The line was shutting down. So I was able to secure some of the best characters, which are Snake Eyes, Storm Shadow, and Zartan, in my opinion. And of course, Destro is also very cool. But I wasn't able to get everything. Here's that crossbow that Zartan came with. And when you actually put an arrow in there, it stays open, and when you shoot it, it snaps back. And here's some of his trick arrows that it came with, like a bomb and a, I don't know, very primitive looking razor tip. But anyway, that was just a quick look at the Sigma 6 toys that I have. Again, I think it's a toy line that doesn't get any love. A lot of G.I. Joe collectors just kind of don't talk about it. But I'm a fan of it. When I redo my figures around, I'll probably add some of them into the mix because they're great posing and just display pieces because of the poses you can get and the gear that they come with. So look for that sometime in the future. Oh, my hat's by the way, just a little FYI, it's 4 a.m. in the morning, but I have fun doing this. So now I'm off to sleep. But until then, thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked it. If you like what you saw, please give me a thumbs up. Leave a comment. I love reading them and I love getting back to you all. And if you're new around here, hit the subscribe and hit that little bell next to it to be notified whenever there's a new episode. But until next time, keep being rad and stay dorky.